جزاك الله رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربي زدني علما ربي زدني علما ربي زدنا علما فالحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Once again everybody, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. So last time we discussed that Musa alayhi salam, when Allah Ta'ala gave him the mission, he tells Allah Ta'ala, he responded to the mission of Allah Ta'ala with 5 fears, to which Allah Ta'ala responded, Kalla. And Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala said that I will appoint Harun, your brother, as a help for you, and my miracles are with you. So now you go to Pharaoh. So in the beginning of the conversation, if you remember, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala tell Musa alayhi salam that he has to go back to the wrongdoing people. And I was thinking at this point that when Musa alayhi salam left Egypt, if you remember a long time ago when he reached Madian and he found water over there, at that time when he left Egypt, he thanked Allah Ta'ala for what? Do you remember that? He thanked Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for saving him from the wrongdoing people. And I remember we discussed that was the same prayer of Hazrat Asiyah radhiyallahu anha as well, and it is mentioned in Quran. So at that time, 10 years ago, Musa alayhi salam was thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for saving him from the wrongdoing people. And now, after apparently when all went well set and everything was good, and after 10 years, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking him again to go back to the same people from which he ran from, which were the wrongdoing people. So what's the whole point of running away and that rescue? Have you ever thought about this? Would anyone like to?
Assalamu alaikum. This is Rabina. So he ran away. He wasn't prepared for the mission. So it was a different emotions and different fears. But now going back to the wrongdoing people, now has a mission from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's different, he's got courage, he's got commitment, he's got support. So it was a different time in his life. Sometimes you have to address issues, if you can run away with them, but sometimes you have to go back to certain things, certain scenarios. It's a responsibility upon yourself, or even to put certain things at rest, a closure, that you have to face them. So I think he's in a similar situation where before he didn't have, he wasn't aware that he was going to be appointed as a messenger, as a prophet. So, but on this going back, he's in a different sort of, he's been given a responsibility, which he's got strength from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I think it's a different scenario. And it happens to human beings as well. Sometimes we leave things and we can't face them, but a distance or coming away, and you look at it from an outward rather than inward. If you look at it from outside looking in, sometimes it presents itself in a different manner, the problem. That's my understanding.
Yeah, you're really right. Yeah, that's really right. And I think that I paused here because I think that we need some discussion over here, because you rightly pointed out that this happens to us as well. That sometimes when we are in the situation, we cannot see the solution. But sometimes when we zoom out, somehow we need some time out of that situation for unlearning the things that we have learned previously, and unleashing our inner powers and the truth. And when you are all set, sometime Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take you back to the situation, back to the point where you started from. And I think our response after all this training and nurturing of the time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us out of the situation, after that, we shouldn't be reacting in the same way as we did previously. So I think that this is the point that we normally neglect. So I wanted to, point your attention to this one. So Musa alayhi salam is now has been given this mission, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reassuring him first that have no fear, I am with you, hearing and seeing. And after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell Musa alayhi salam, so go to him and says, go to Pharaoh and say, indeed, we are both messengers from your Lord. So let the children of Israel, the Bani Israel, go with us and do not oppress them. And we have come to you with a sign from your Lord. And the slavery will be for whoever follows the right guidance. Salvation will be for those whoever find the guidance. And it is indeed being revealed to us that punishment will be upon whoever denies the truth and turns away. So Musa alayhi salam has been told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give two messages to Pharaoh. Number one, we are being sent as a representative from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the real God. And secondly, they are supposed to tell him that you have to free the slaves that you have, the Bani Israel. So here, now Musa alayhi salam has been commanded by Allah Ta'ala this time to go to Pharaoh directly, not to local people, but to Pharaoh directly. And I want you to let that sink in. Who's Pharaoh? Probably from the earlier episodes in the beginning of this series, we have established that he was a mighty king. And he must be living in a huge space or palace or something. And another thing to remember here is that who is Musa alayhi salam at that time? He is a fugitive or an escaped criminal who's wanted in Egypt. So as soon as Musa alayhi salam is going to pass through the security forces, they can kill him. Because remember, the orders were, as soon as you find Musa, you kill him. So the last thing that Musa alayhi salam told Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was that I fear him. I fear that they are going to kill me because they have a crime recorded against me. And now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling him that go straight to him. Go straight to the place where the chances of getting killed are the highest. That's the amr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And his protection will lead him to Pharaoh. And what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, go straight to Pharaoh and tell him that the two things that I already told you, that one, we are the messengers from Allah. And this is where we're supposed to begin to do the mission of Prophet Musa alayhi salam begin from this point. So let's assume for a moment that if there is a camera in this situation, for what we are talking right now, where should be the camera? Where is this conversation happening between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Musa alayhi salam? It's happening in the middle of the desert at night time on the mountain. This conversation is happening. And Musa alayhi salam is alone over there. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling him that both of you go and tell Pharaoh this and this. So listen to what happened in the next ayah. Kala faman rabbukuma ya Musa. Pharaoh asked, where is Pharaoh actually? He is inside his palace. So in the next ayah, the camera, which was on the mountain, quickly moved to inside the Pharaoh's palace. This is actually what happens in the modern filmmaking. Cut scene, transition from mountain to the palace of Pharaoh. And this is really an interesting thing in Quran, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala skipped the minor details because, when this conversation was happening on the mountain, after that, Musa alayhi salam probably must have gone to his family. He must have told the whole story to the family. Then he has moved to Egypt, met his brother Harun after 10 years, then told Harun that, okay, I got this and this message. Now you are the messenger with me. And somehow they got past all the security measures because Pharaoh is inside the palace. And his palace must have, a great security measures. There must be a lot of security guards and everything outside the palace. They pass all these security measures, and the next scene, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that Musa alayhi salam is already standing in front of Pharaoh, and he has already told Pharaoh the two things, that we are the messengers of the real God and send Bani Israel with us. And all this is happening in one quick cut scene. Imagine, this is how beautiful Quran is. When you're reading Quran with this imagination, like unfortunately we are not blessed with, most of us don't know the Arabic language, and we don't enjoy this actual essence. But imagine this, like even if you're reading a translation, when you're reading this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is creating an image in our head as we are reading this. And this whole conversation is like a great scene that is actually built inside your head, and you enjoy watching this movie inside your head. And this important scene, the next scene. So now we are inside the king palace, and I want you to use your best imagination and design this palace with me. What's inside this palace? If you remember from the first, second episode, this is the palace of Pharaoh in Egypt. Let's design this palace. What could be inside it? Anyone would help me design the palace of Pharaoh?
So I would imagine it's all about down to our imagination and his status. You know, this is a man who considers himself, the Pharaoh considers himself, you know, for a long period of time as God. He wanted to be known as God. He wanted to be known that he's got powers of God. He can give life, he can give death, he can controls everything. So if he considers such the ultimate power, then obviously his surroundings would reflect that. So, you know, it would be a magnificent place, huge area, and he would entertain, you know, so many people, important people, the magicians, his lots of, you know, his members of his government and all the royalties, visitors, guests. So it's spacious and it has its own awe over people. So there's fear, and there, I mean, he does that by force. He does that by fear. So force is, it's a place where only his word is word. His word is the final word. So, you know, there are people surrounding him. So it's also like a stage. So you know, it's a surrounding where, and Musa, to enter into this environment, he has to now muster up, he has to gather all his courage, you know, and he's been, on the one hand, he's been commanded, he's been told to appear before Pharaoh. So it's one huge, you know, if you look at Musa's status, okay, he's a prophet, he's a messenger, spiritually and, you know, as religiously, he's in a more powerful state than, but it's a preparation, you know, they're preparing for the next act, as if you say it's a scene from, you know, one place to another. So I'm imagine, like Pharaoh himself, his area, his palace represents him in all negative or strength-wise, or even his own weaknesses because of his own fears. He has to present himself as being, you know, the all-powerful. So it's a very formidable place, and it has intimidating for people who cannot stand up to Pharaoh. And that's my imagination.
The very right word that you use, that the place must be huge. It must be like intimidating for anyone to come in. Like there must be large throne, lots of guards, team of ministers, top people of all the times. There must be elite stuff inside the palace. It must be huge. And then two people walk in, Musa alayhi salam and Harun alayhi salam. And imagine what these people are looking like in this big place. They must be, you know, they might be covered in in dust. And one of them has a stick in his hand. And the other one, we know that he's a slave guy. And one is an outlaw, the criminal who's needed, wanted. And these two people walking in this elite place, what kind of conversation did people expected to happen at this point? The people who are sitting, the ministers, the servants, the people who are walking around the Pharaoh, they must be expecting that, you know, Musa alayhi salam, and even Pharaoh himself, he might be expecting that Musa alayhi salam has come here to ask for forgiveness for the mistake that he did in the past. And, you know, they are expecting this type of conversation to happen. And imagine these two people, they start talking and they say that we came on the behalf of the real master. And they're telling this to who? to someone who consider him the God, and they're telling him that we came from the real master actually, and you should let go of Bani Israel. And in this conversation, like, we literally need to take notes of so many things that now you'll get to know why Pharaoh is actually Pharaoh, why he is the, you know, the Pharaoh of all times, the greatest leader of all time, and that, like, the dictator of all time. So he considered him the real master, the God, and Pharaoh does. And you're supposed to tell him that you are sent on the behalf of the real master. And just not that, you tell that the person who you consider as slaves are not actually your slaves. They are slaves of the real master, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you have to free them. And the important keyword here are the real master. And second is the best thing for you, the type of wording that Musa alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen for him to tell him that, it's best for you to let go of Bani Israel. And this is not a request that Musa alayhi salam is putting in front of Pharaoh. This is a demand, because this doesn't come from a person. This comes from the real master, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And imagine this moment. Someone going to a king's palace and telling him that you are not the real king. Even in today's time, like, imagine there are countries and there are places in the present world where even when you take the name of the king without saying your highness, you'll disappear. We know of countries where if you talk bad about the government, you'll be lost. You'll be gone. You'll disappear. You're not allowed to speak against the government or the king, even in today's world. So imagine saying that to a king, that you better send your slaves with us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling Musa alayhi salam that you are scared about going to a king. So go to the king and tell him this. And they came here and said it all. And this is not a normal moment. I want you to imagine this, that two very normal people in terms of worldly matters. Rather, I'm telling you again and again, one is criminal, one is slave. And they have this audacity, this confidence to stand in front of the king and saying that, you are putting their demands in front of him. And for this, we need to, understand the psychology that prophets and Musa alayhi salam at this time had. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Qur'an that Izzah, respect, belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the respect belongs to prophets. And then the respect belongs to mu'mineen. So by default, if you are a mu'min, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the izzah. And we don't need anyone to acknowledge this or give this izzah to us except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because this belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you know what, when we're traveling in business class and you're not given the special type of special treatment, like in business class, you're given a special treatment. And in the economy class, you're not given that special type of treatment. But important thing is not that given the respect. Important thing is how do you take it? If you feel good in traveling in economy class, you are good enough in your health that you don't need to that comfort, you're okay traveling in economy class, then probably the business of the business class will stop running. Because let's agree to this point that most of the people are not traveling in business class because of the comfort that is offered. Most of the people are traveling because of the class that they are offering. Same happens with the brands. Why do people are buying such expensive handbags? Do you think that's because of the quality they're serving? I doubt that. Many of the customers of these handbag companies are because they are selling the class. They're selling the izzah and the status symbols. And that's very important for us to learn. And that's very important for us to learn because we have to transfer it into our kids, into the next generation. That no one on earth is worthy of giving us izzah. It belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted it to mu'mineen. And if we can truly live up to this concept, then we'll be more confident in our religion. Then these businesses, they cannot sell us stuff just like that. And we'll be more confident in our religion, our values, and in our own selves. And wallahu ta'ala alam, but I think that this is one of the game changer chess moves that for the Muslims of today. If we become confident in ourselves, if we start believing that Izzah would not come from the material stuff that we will buy and put on ourselves, including makeup, including brands, including expensive cars. If you genuinely like this stuff, go for it. If you have money and you genuinely like this stuff, go for it. But if you start believing that Izzah or people will respect you because you have this step, then this is a serious illness that is creeping into our houses. And we need to keep ourselves in check with this. So this story has, a lot of lessons for us, like not just this, even for the communication skills, we were going to see communication skills, psychology, leadership. If you read each and every ayah carefully. So Pharaoh, he knows already, we already know that Pharaoh actually loved Musa alayhi salam because he raised him up. So he's not going to kill him on spot, but he will kill him with his words. So Pharaoh is really good at what he does. And his whole empire, and he being the world best politician of the time, is for a reason. He is an expert debater and an evil genius. So he is telling, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when mentioning the Pharaoh's dialogue, because this story has been mentioned 6 times in Quran, if I can show you this story has been mentioned 6 times in Quran. Every time, of course, there's a unique focus. 3 times it's mentioned very directly, and 3 times it's mentioned indirectly. So in Surah Araf, Surah Taha, and Surah Shu'ara, we have this detailed mentioning of this story, like in direct mentioning. And then in 3 surahs, Surah Al-Qasas, Nazia, and Surah Al-Kafir, these are actually, mentioned in an indirect sense, like these has been mentioned like summarized or reported text, like we certainly sent Musa with our sign. So it's an indirect speech that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using. And all those places, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned it in most detail in Surah Shu'ara. So I'm taking the script. Otherwise, we're going with Surah Taha. So now we'll move to Surah Shu'ara because the dialogue is detailed, is explained in detail in Surah Shu'ara. And there, like we will get to actually see how Pharaoh is tackling with the situation. So Musa alayhi salam, as I mentioned, let's recap it. He mentioned 2 things. One, that we too have been sent as a representative from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are the messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And second, he said that you have to send Bani Israel with us. Let go of Bani Israel. So Pharaoh's response was that we did not raise you. Qala alam nurabbika fina walidan. So he said that, did we not raise you among us as a child? And you stayed here several years of your life in our care? So what did he say? He said that you were here since you were a baby. And this is how you're going to talk to me. Like, I raised you, and this is how you're going to show respect to me. Did you forget that you live in this house? So he's basically telling Musa alayhi salam to know his place. He's basically making Musa alayhi salam feel 2 things. One, that he's being disrespectful to his father-like figure. And second, that he's being ungrateful for all the things that he has been given. And how he's being ungrateful and disrespectful? By telling the truth. Because Musa alayhi salam is telling one biggest truth on the world to Pharaoh. And how he's responding to that is by telling him that you are ungrateful and disrespectful. Sometimes people will make you feel bad for telling the truth. And this happens in our normal lives a lot, that people will make you feel bad for telling the truth in all the ways that they can. And it's very important to understand this, that just because someone has done something good for you, that doesn't let them do bad things. Like if they have done something good for you, one good thing for you, that doesn't give them license, or that doesn't allow them to do other or bigger bad things. Or, you know, under the burden of that good thing, you cannot ignore the bigger sins they are doing. And if you have to call them out, you have to call them out as a Muslim. So for instance, imagine that if there's a Muslim father and he's being a really good father, he's doing all his fatherly duty well, being kind to his kids, giving them all the life facilities when they needed them, he's there, all the good things he has done for his son, but he runs a business that is haram. So he does all of good stuff, but still he does the haram business. And imagine this son, when he grows up, he respectfully goes up to the father and tell him that, Father, I don't think that I need this university fee, because I would rather not go to university because the source of this income is not halal. So what do you think? How is this father going to respond? He's probably going to...
Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
So he's obviously going to say, okay, well, this is the source of income that's brought you up to this point, and nothing was said then, you know, and we've all enjoyed it up until now. And so what's changed, you know? So he's going to question his own, you know, his own actions, that nobody thought of it as haram before. And now why is my son, who, you know, who I've loved and done everything, you know, even to the point where I've been earning haram money, and, you know, we've had this loving father-son relationship, and that's being threatened now because he's telling me, you know, he's putting it back to me that although you've brought me up and you've, you know, done everything fatherly, but it was by wrong means. So I think it'd be a question of arrogance and anger, and you know, that is his, I think that would be his response.
Yeah, he would never, like, in the best case scenario, he's never going to say thank you for pointing that out. And, you know, he will definitely say that, you know, you were raised up in this house with this money, and he is probably going to humiliate the son. And one good thing that Gen Z has actually taught us is a set of terminologies for all these things that has been happening, you know, for like thousands of years. And one such term is gaslighting. And what is gaslighting? Is actually when you make someone feel bad or wrong, or make them feel wrong when they're not wrong at all. So they would say something which you actually did, but you will make them feel bad for making you feel guilty, you know? So gaslighting is actually never logical. It's always emotional. So what happens is you come up with a logical argument, and the other person, when he doesn't have a logical response to that, they will use emotional tactics, that how dare you say that to me, and, you know, I did this and this to you, even then you are doing this. So this type of emotional stuff they would say to gaslight you. So what Musa Alyehisalam came to say over this situation was logical. But what a gaslighting response, since it's never logical, it's emotional. And what a good gaslighting person would do is he will listen to your logical argument and will gaslight you with an emotional response. So Musa Alyehisalam has told Pharaoh what is something that he has done wrong. And he is responding to it by reminding him the favors that he has done to Musa Alyehisalam, and how ungrateful and disrespectful he is. Why? Because Pharaoh, he wants to make Musa Alyehisalam feel bad. And when you feel bad, your brain stops working and your chest becomes tight. Remember the prayers of Musa Alyehisalam? So this is what he prayed for. I don't want my chest to become tight, because he was afraid. He knew Pharaoh. So he knew that he's going to gaslight him. He knew that he's going to make him feel guilty. He knew that he's going to brought up this stuff. So he prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, you know, my chest shouldn't become tight. I should be able to think clearly. So Pharaoh clearly wants Musa alayhi salam to feel bad. Didn't I raise you in this house? I took care of you. And he didn't stop there. Next, he said that, and then you did what you did, being utterly grateful. He didn't stop at saying that, remember, I raised in your house. Then he pointed out his mistakes. He said that, you remember the deed that you did, or are you denying that? And what is he talking about? What deed of Musa alayhi salam is Pharaoh mentioning here? We all know he's mentioning about the wrong that he did in the past, because at that time he was confused. He punched a guy and he died. So Pharaoh is saying that, who are you to tell me my wrongs? Do you remember your past? Do you remember your mistake? And this is what good gaslighters do. They never let you pass your past mistakes. And what our religion tells us, human beings makes mistakes. This makes you human. Yes or no? Clearly. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he said that all the children of Adam keep on making mistakes. So this makes us human. The mistakes is a part of being human. So we fall and then we get up. But what gaslighters do is they never let you pass your mistakes, even if they were like in past. So they want you to make you feel like you are nothing but the sum of your mistakes. And Pharaoh is exactly doing the same to Musa alayhi salam. He's continuously pointing out the mistake of Musa alayhi salam one after the other. And how Musa alayhi salam is responding to this, it's like genuinely the greatest response of all times. That's why I said that we need to take notes from the way this conversation is progressing. Musa alayhi salam put two logical truths in front of Pharaoh, and he responded to none of them. He didn't consider any of them. He just gaslighted him by telling him that you are being ungrateful, you are disrespectful, and do you remember your mistakes? Who are you to point out my mistake? Like if I'm considering myself God, who are you to tell me you have done mistakes in the past? And listen to how Musa alayhi salam is responding. So now he has three things to respond. One, you're ungrateful, you're disrespectful, and you did mistake. Musa alayhi salam took the bigger one first. He's saying that I did it, back then I did it, lacking the guidance, because I was not guided. So I was confused, I slipped, I messed up, and I admit I was wrong. He didn't get into any explanation. And he said, following that, he said, so I fled from you when I feared you. And then my Lord granted me wisdom and made me one of the messengers. So Musa alayhi salam didn't give any explanation to Pharaoh. He just admitted the mistake, didn't explain himself, and moved forward. He said, yes, I did it when I was afraid of you all. What does that mean? That now I'm not afraid of you all. And at that time, I was misguided. I didn't know what to do. But now, my Lord, the actual Lord, he's pointing again, the actual Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he has granted me wisdom and he has made me the messenger. So what Musa alayhi salam did is, he bring the argument back to the logical point. After that, he said that, how can that be a favor of you which reminded me when it was only because of you that you have enslaved the children of Israel? So now Musa alayhi salam is pointing out that, you, again, your mistake, because he have totally disregarded any of his questions. So now he has brought back his argument in place, and he is saying that you have enslaved the people, and that's the wrong thing to do. So now Pharaoh is responding again. He's speaking just one thing. Qala Fir'auna wa ma rabbul alamin. Pharaoh asked, and what is the Lord of all the worlds? And I would like to take a moment over here that in the rest of the surahs in which this is mentioning, the conversation started from this point, where Pharaoh says that wa ma rabbul alamin. And so in Surah Shuara, you get the detailed conversation, like the previous part that we have discussed is only found in Surah Shuara. This dialogue is found in Surah Qasas and Surah Taha as well. So now Pharaoh, now he sees that, because As I said, it's the court. It's his palace. His ministers must be sitting over there. Servants must be sitting over here. And, all of the people. So he has to do his face saving as well. So now he's asking, Umar Rabbul Alameen, and what is the Lord of all the worlds? What are you saying about that? So Musa alayhi salam response was, Musa replied, he is the Lord of the heavens and the earth and everything in between. If you had sure faith, if you are the one to believe, in kuntum muqinin, if you are the one to believe, then he is the one who is Lord of all the heavens and the earth and everything in between. So Pharaoh responded to Musa alayhi salam. He said to everybody around him, did you hear what he said? So now he's, involving more people inside the conversation. Did you hear what Musa is saying? And because actually when you see this conversation is happening, everyone is listening. The scenery that we created in the beginning, that Musa alayhi salam is speaking, everyone is listening. And as Pharaoh sees that, he's going, everybody started listening to Musa alayhi salam, because here it's just one ayah, but in other places, it's a detailed explanation of what Musa alayhi salam says, that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this and that, and this is a long dialogue that he's giving. So Pharaoh had to stop this dialogue, and he had to gather everyone's attention to himself back. Did you hear what he said? So he is actually, in a way, in the communication lesson, if you see that he is actually talking about him, but he wants to grab his position in the palace again by saying this. And then Musa alayhi salam added that he is your Lord and Lord of your fathers. So then he pointed out again that, he's not just your Lord, he was the Lord of your fathers. In other conversation, in other surah, it's mentioned that Pharaoh actually asked, what do you think about your forefathers? And then Musa alayhi salam said that he had, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has always been the Lord, even for our forefathers. And then Pharaoh said mockingly, Inna rasulakum allazi arsil alaykum lamajnoon. Your messenger who has been sent to you must be insane. Now when Pharaoh sees that everybody is, Musa alayhi salam has a very logical conversation, and, he has very logical arguments, and nothing is moving him. So now he started making fun of him to humiliate him. So he's saying that mockingly that, to the people, because now you see, he's constantly bringing in other people. Why? Because he's seeing that he's losing his position. So he's dragging people with him, that, you are on my side. He's gathering people. You're already seeing that only with this conversation, Pharaoh seems to be losing his position. So he said mockingly that your messenger who has been sent to be must be insane, so that people stay on his side. And Musa alayhi salam still, he kept holding his ground, and he responded, he is the Lord of the East and the West and everything in between. If only you had any sense. I don't know about you guys, but can you imagine this, how this conversation is progressing? Pharaoh must be getting angry. People must be getting more and more convinced. And Musa alayhi salam is steadfast on his dialogue. He's rock solid, he's not moving. And Pharaoh feels threatened. And he said, if you can take another God besides me, I'll certainly have to imprison you. Now Pharaoh, initially, he sounded like this guy is not big deal. He's making fun of him. He was ignoring him. But now as he sees that not only this guy, people listening to him, and this news is going to spread, people are going out of my hand. So he immediately threatened that if you take any God beside me, I will certainly imprison you. Because, this is what happens. This is what happens in governments as well. That when you see something is becoming a big deal, governments threat them. And one person, if hanged, would be the example for all of others. So he threatened him. And Musa alayhi salam responded, even if I bring a clear proof. So now when Musa alayhi salam was done with his speech, now he bring the miracles. So now he said that even if I bring you a clear proof, and Pharaoh and all the other people, they haven't seen the miracles. So they must be thinking, what can he bring? So Pharaoh demanded, bring it. And if bring it. If what you say is true, then show us the miracle. And at that moment, Musa alayhi salam threw down his staff, and behold, it became a real snake. So Banun Mubin, a big snake. Do you remember when we studied this, when Musa alayhi salam threw his stick at the mountain, what did it become at that time? Does anyone remember that?
It
What
became
was
a snake, a serpent. Didn't
Sorry?
his staff become a serpent then as well?
Hayyatun tas'a.
Hayatun Tas'a. So Hayatun Tas'a is like a quick moving, probably a small snake which was moving quickly. Now it is So'banun Mubin. It's a real big snake. Because Musa alayhi salam needed just a small, quick miracle to believe. But a person like Pharaoh and his arrogant ministers, they needed a big thing to believe. So it's like a big snake. Imagine that in that palace, there's a big snake, big real snake. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using the word Subhanul Mubin. It's a big real snake that appeared in the court. And everyone must be, stunned. And after that, not just that, then he drew his hand out of his collar, and it was shining, white for all to see. And last time we discussed that this white shining was actually a symbol to show that it was his hidayah and his light that he's carrying. So he drew his hand out of his collar, and it was shining. So first snake, and then this white hand. It was so white everybody could see that. So now Pharaoh was, he must be shaken, and he must be, really worried of things that are going out of his hand. So he said that Pharaoh said to his chiefs around him. So now I'm telling you again and again that if you have studied Pharaoh, like we discussed that in the beginning as well, he is a character who make everything about himself. He's very arrogant, but he's constantly bringing in the chiefs, the ministers. Why? Because he wants this. He know that he is nothing without these ministers and chiefs. So he needs to have this cabinet. So he said to the chiefs around him, he's indeed a skilled magician. So what he could immediately say to deny that was that he is a skilled magician. And what he wants to do, he wants to drive you from your land by his magic. So what do you propose? So now he's saying that this is a magician, and now what is he doing is he wants to drag you out of your land by his magic. So what do you propose? Ma famaza ta'murun. And this is very unlike Pharaoh, asking people for their opinion. He built this big empire with the house that he has spread. And now he's asking people for opinion. This is not actually because he's genuinely asking them. One, he wants to hold them. And secondly, this is what this sentence that they want to drag you out of the land. Do you see this happening in the modern times as well? There's this dialogue that these people, they want to take your land. That's why they are here. This one dialogue can make people go against you. Do you see this happening in the modern political scenario as well?
Well, that's what's happening currently. We're seen as the aliens all around. We're not anybody that doesn't belong anymore. Becomes to be seen as troublesome.
Yeah, especially in UK as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's everybody, because one thing starts to another, and they just build up momentum, and they've decided they want, the English people have decided that they want to make some noise, and through media they've managed to gather up groups here and there, and they're just calling for one thing. We want the immigrants to leave.
Yeah.
regardless of, you know, how much they contribute to the economy, regardless of how much, you know, services they provide. I mean, they're all the ones contributing a lot.
That, like, even at the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you remember, if you see, what were people saying? That he wants, you know, he wants you to lose your homes. He's an alien to us. He wants you to lose your religion. Even at the time of Yusuf alayhi salam and his brothers, when Bani Israel was initially brought down, when the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salam, they were made slaves, because the people of Egypt, they realized that, you know, this is, they are alien, they don't belong here. So why are they getting rich and rich? So every time in history, when you have to make someone, make them a bad person, you have to say that, you know, this person is trying to do bad here. So we have to, he wants you to lose your religion. He wants you to lose your land. That's why he's here. And that's this dialogue alone is enough for people to turn against this person, with all the logic that he has shown, with all the argument that he has been giving. This one dialogue that he seeks to drive you from your land by using his magic, by using his power, anything. So this alone is enough for people to gather against you.
It's called demonizing people. Once you want to turn people against them, you have to start labeling them as they're the negative force. It's like what happened in Bosnia, you know, before any genocide, it's demonizing people, that these are lowly people. They're like, you know, they're like a plague on the land. So it's all building up to before people gather up against anybody.
Yeah. And this happens so much around us all the time. So, and this trick is not new. Like we have been seeing that all through the history. So what the minister's response was, because ministers usually in the Pharaoh's court, if you see, the ministers were usually not given any importance. Pharaoh was arrogant and he was all by himself. So now when he gave a little bit, you know, importance to his ministers, they would definitely feel very happy about that. And, you know, now they see their use here. So they would rush to Pharaoh to give him suggestions. And then they suggested that, you know, let him and his brother wait and dispatch mobilizer to all the cities. And now we know that after that, they gathered all the, because now they clearly knew that if at this point they would imprison Musa alayhi salam or even kill him. So at that point, he has shown all these miracles and he has talked about all the things that he wanted to talk. And there are so many people in the court, so many people listening to it. So people talk to people, and this news will spread outside. And if Pharaoh will kill Musa alayhi salam at this point or imprison him, this would show his, you know, lacking at this point. So he wanted to, you know, just kill it completely. So like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that you make a scheme and Allah make a bigger scheme. So he made this scheme that he would, you know, end this topic forever. He will gather bigger magicians and he will end the story completely. So then he mobilized people to bring all the best magicians from all the cities. And inshallah, we'll discuss the next, in the next episode, what happens next. Here I would like to conclude by mentioning how often the story is mentioned in Quran. I showed the slide before as well. In Surah Araf, in Surah Taha, and Surah Shuara, as I said, that in these surahs, this event is mentioned directly. And Musa alayhi salam told Pharaoh that I am the messenger from Lord of the worlds. And then Musa alayhi salam delivers his message. Then Pharaoh demands the proofs. Then miracles are being shown, and magicians start believing, and the rest of the things happen. And in Surah Taha, the same is mentioned Pharaoh asked that, who is your Lord? And Musa alayhi salam mentioned that our Lord is the Lord of everything, and he guided us. And the debate here is rather theological on Allah's lordship. And in Surah Shuara, like we discussed, the detailed account of this has been given. And then in Surah Al-Araf, the detailed story with miracles and magicians is mentioned. And this is mentioned, as I mentioned previously, indirectly. These are the two proofs from the Lord to Pharaoh and his thieves. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning it indirectly, that Allah gave the proofs to Musa alayhi salam. In Surah Naziyat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Allah told Musa alayhi salam to go to Pharaoh in these, he has transgressed, and say, would you be willing to purify yourself? So this is a call for purification and God consciousness that has been mentioned in Surah Al-Naziyat. And then in Surah Ghafir, and this has been mentioned, that mentions Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that sending Musa alayhi salam with his signs, Pharaoh's rejection, and then the believing man who came to the defense of Musa alayhi salam. And this is not a full back and forth conversation, but an indirect mentioning here. And here a hidden believer in the Pharaoh's court has also been mentioned, who came to defend Musa alayhi salam. His faith was hidden until the point that he supported Musa alayhi salam in front of the whole court. And that's about it today. Inshallah, we will continue with the Seerah story, inshallah, in the next session.
Sister Ramna, I think Brother Zain has a question. His hand is up.
Yes, please.
Assalamu alaikum. You asked for me during the session regarding the points that were being discussed. So what I think is Pharaoh was mistaken as everyone else is normally mistaken when they gets power. So what Allah says, when Yusuf alayhi salam was made the Aziz and made the finance minister, you can say, in Egypt, Allah says that Allah gave him tamkeen fil ard. So it is Allah who grants power. And that was when we started the story of Musa alayhi salam, it was Allah's divine plan to give tamkeen fil ard and istikhlaf fil ard to the Bani Israel. So what Pharaoh didn't think, he thought that it is our ancestors, it is our land, that it's our property, and someone from an alien country, someone who is an alien, he's trying to drive us out from here. So what he and others who feel like that it is our land and it's our property and it's our asset, they don't think that the asset and the property is only given by Allah, and whoever Allah wishes, because Allah has some principles, guided principles, that if Muslims and if Bani Israel, that as they were given the covenant, if they are on Iman and Amal Salih, like us today, we are very bad in Iman, we are very low in Amal Salih, so we have lost the istikhlaf fil ard. That's why Musa alayhi salam came to Pharaoh, and Allah gave them, as we discussed in the previous session, Allah gave him the power and the knowledge to regain the control that Allah has promised him. So I think Pharaoh was mistaken about this ardikum, what he said. So that's all I can say, that it's the arrogance of Pharaoh as alongside with all the people who think the same in this condition and in this whole scenario that's being built up right now also over the face of the earth.
From your point of view, and that's very right. I think that we have to study these when we are studying these ayahs, and when we are studying these stories, we need to get the lesson for us out of it. And you summarize it really well, that we need to learn this from the Seerah as well, that as long as we will just have the claim that we are Muslim and not practicing anything out of it, then we are not the mustakhlifeen, and we are not the real Muslims who are promised all these things. So
and one more. Yeah,
Yes.
one more thing I want to add. When there is a verse of Holy Quran, I think it's in Surah Al-Qasas or Surah Taha, I don't remember actually, where Musa alayhi salam, when he gave the first dawah to Pharaoh, he mentioned that I am from your Lord, and I am sent from your Lord, and I am his Rasul, and Arsil Ma'ana Bani Israel. So when when he gave him dawah, and then he said that you are just oppressing them, and just give Bani Israel to me, I will just take them with me. So Pharaoh, in return, in reply, he didn't even talk about this matter. So it is what we can understand from here is that the people who are just engaged in these matters, they don't just give heed to this matter. So because Musa alayhi salam gave him two dawah, one was that he is a Rasul, and the second one, Arsal Ma'ana Bani Israel. So he just started conversation on Wama Rabbul Alameen. He just started debating on Rabbul Alameen, and he didn't pay heed to the other matter. And so from here we can extract the psychology of the oppressors, that they just don't try to establish, or they just don't try to get into the matter of conversation and the debate on the matter in which they are on the lower side, on the downside. So this was, I think, was not discussed, so I just tried to add it, that there are some points for this worldly life right now that's happening, that if you try to challenge someone on the matters that are very much against those bodies who are just very much busy in oppression, and if you say two things, they will just start debating on the one thing, and they will just pay no heed to the other thing. That's also very important. So we have to be very vigilant, and we have to take lessons from this story also, inshallah.
This is really, really important. That's why I said that, we need to take communication skills and psychology lessons from this story. Like each and every ayah needs so much of focus and, so much lessons for us. So I think we should conclude here, and we'll continue next time.
Yes, sure.
Assalamu alaikum.